All right. So, like I mentioned, I'm going to definitely be doing this in a series. So, I decided to focus on the Google Business Profile, formerly known as Google My Business. So, if anyone's like, what's Google Business Profile? It was always called Google My Business. That changed about 2 years ago, and they now call it Google Business Profile. But essentially, your Google Business Profile is what shows up in the map section. So, when somebody searches for a veterinarian near me, or a specific service area or something like that near me, think about finding Thai food on the way home. So you're going to say closest Thai food near me. You have that little map pack that pops up, and it's usually going to be 3 listings right in there. That is what we're talking about when we're talking about optimizing for your Google Business Profile. We want to make sure that when people are searching out for people in our local SEO area, in our local radius, that we're showing up, we're popping up in that map pack. And the reason that that's important is there's a lot of studies on the internet, there's a lot of data that shows that still about, as much advertising as goes on and Google ads and everything like that, a good 60% of the clicks and leads and everybody that come to your practice are actually driven through the Google Business Profile. So making sure that this is optimized is absolutely critical. So we're going to run through this. Like I said, we're going to do these in short bursts. I know it's the evening for everybody, and I'm sure everyone had a long day at their practice. So I appreciate you being here. We're going to keep these to about 20 to 30 minutes, and we will send you the recording of it. So again, don't worry too much about taking notes. Okay, so to jump right in here. All right, so the main things that we're going to focus on tonight are, the key ways to improve your Google Business Profile and or protect your ranking. So there's a lot of people that are like, hey, my practice has been around forever. When people Google, we're in that top 3. Well, we want to make sure that we stay in that top 3. And, the internet is becoming a much more competitive space now. So there are a lot of people doing a lot of things to try to get those positions and gain those positions. So if we're already in those top positions, we're definitely going to want to make sure that we're maintaining those. So the first thing, now this is going to seem a little bit out of order because, first I have reviews listed, but then I talk about fully completed profile and detailed description. There's a reason for that. And the reason for that is I cannot emphasize enough that getting consistent reviews is going to be the #1 thing that you can do to really improve your position and make sure you're maintaining your rankings. Okay. So what I see all the time, I've been doing marketing for a little over 10 years now, always in the digital marketing space. I used to own a firm where we did all marketing for law firms, which is a highly competitive space. So I was able to cut my teeth there, but switched my focus a few years ago, started the vet marketing firm, and really have dove all in on the vet side. So really enjoying that, really enjoying to see, how it's similar and how it differentiates. But the one thing that's similar across the board is the need for consistent reviews. So all too often what I see happen is, I'll start working with someone and I'll say, listen, you need to go out and get some reviews, right? You're either their review score is not great or they just haven't had any new reviews in quite some time. So what everybody does is they do a big email push. They email a bunch of past clients, get some reviews in the door, and then they forget about it for 6 months. The #1 thing that I can stress throughout this whole entire webinar is that Google loves consistency. Okay, Google's algorithms are scraping those, every single day. They're indexing websites every single month. So it's constantly looking for those practices that are being consistent. So who is adding content, who is updating their website, who is, consistently getting new reviews, not just a one-time push and then not get a single review for 6 months. That's what Google loves. Google loves consistency. So we don't want to do this just once or twice a year. We want to make sure we have a system in place where we're getting consistent reviews. One of the best things that I've done and seen done in practices is to create a little sign and literally put it right at your checkout counter, right? Right when people are leaving, they're talking to the person. A lot of times people are in good spirits. Hey, just had a great visit with the doctor, feeling good about leaving and everything like that. There's something called a QR code, and QR codes are very, very simple. You can do a QR code generator, and you're going to put that right onto something that someone can scan with their phone. And I know a lot of people are thinking, hey, some people aren't great with technology and the phones and everything, but COVID changed all that. Remember, we went out, we didn't have menus for 2 years. You had to scan something and scan a QR code. So that's very familiar to people now. So it really, really works well. And, maybe you want to put a little incentive. Maybe you could say, hey, leave us a review and take $10 off your next visit, whatever. I've seen people that have like little treat bags and things like that for people that will leave the review. The other reason that it's super important to do this at the moment, right? So what we see is someone who asks for the review in the moment, right at the time, the percentage chance goes through the roof in terms of people that are actually going to do it. We all know we're busy. We all know that we have good intentions, but once we leave the office and we're out of there and we're on to our next thing for the day, we kind of tend to forget about it. And sometimes that slips away. So key thing is try to get that captured right in the office, have the sign right there. And the other benefit, and this is the little known part about this, is one of the biggest reasons people don't leave a Google review is they go home to their computer and they're excited, they want to leave you a review, and they go to log in and they go to click leave a review, and the first thing that pops up is log into your Google account, right? And I'm sure we've all seen that happen. And when it happens is a QR code. I'll answer any questions that we have. I'll address those right at the end. So what happens is when someone scans the QR code with their phone, it's going to pop up and it's going to, most of the time, already have you logged into Google. You have Gmail on your phone, you have Google Maps, you have different things that you're already logged into Google. So when someone presses that QR code and calls that up, a lot of times they're already logged into Google. It removes that step, and they're going to go ahead and leave that review. So the other thing is, make sure that we respond to all reviews. Many times I've worked with clients where, anytime there's a negative review, they'll respond to the negative review and try to justify their case and things like that. In terms of responding to regular or negative reviews, I think it's always best practice to respond with positivity. You want to respond that, hey, listen, we're concerned. We want to address this. Sometimes if it's just a false review, it's very good to say, listen, we checked all of our records. We didn't see you as a patient, but we would love for you to reach out to our office so we can talk about this, et cetera, right? You want to take that positive response. But with, positive reviews, you also want to respond. And again, this is all about the consistency. So as you're responding to these reviews as they're coming in, Google is seeing this, and think of it like a point system, right? You are getting points for that interaction and doing that. So again, I put this first because I can't emphasize enough that reviews are the number one thing that you can do. Doesn't take any other, skill sets, any technical knowledge of SEO or anything like that. It's simply putting in a good process within your office to consistently get these will really, really make a huge difference in your practice. Okay, so the second thing, and probably, if in order of things that we need to do would be the first thing, would be a fully completed profile with a very detailed description, okay? So, the obvious is the full name, address, phone number, website, hours of operation. But in the description sections, you want to get very detailed in your description. And we want to make sure that we're using relevant keywords in that description. So, sometimes people, hey, we're a veterinary practice and we do this and we help with this, but sometimes mentioning, less common things, right? Because everybody is competing for a veterinarian near me. But, looking at something like dog dental health or things like that, right? Those type of keywords put into the description are really going to help, because remember, Google's algorithm is going to solve for everything. Some people are going to specifically ask for a veterinarian near me, but other people are going to ask for, dog teeth cleaning near me and things like that, very specific, right? So there's lots of keyword list generators out there to look at, different types of keywords that are within your niche. And this is really important for newer practices too, because again, well-established practices that have been doing this, that have a system in place for this, already gain those positions. And if they're being consistent, they're going to maintain those and keep those ranks. So, being able to solve for and get rankings in less competitive keywords, but keywords that are still going to drive patients into your office is really, really critical. So take a look at your descriptions, see what else that you can possibly put in there. And again, you don't want to use like keyword stuffing. Keyword stuffing is something that people used to do in the place where it's like, we are a veterinary practice in Boise, Idaho, who practices medicine in Boise, Idaho, and things like that, right? We want to avoid that. Google actually, the algorithms will read for that and sometimes can even penalize for that on websites. So we want to avoid that. But a well-written description describing the different services and things that you can do. And listen, some practices are different. Some practices have certain specialty machines or things that you can do or things that you're really trying to promote. So this is a great area to do that and a great area to put that information in there. We want to complete the Q&A section. Sometimes when you're first putting it out there, add some common questions. There's no problem to add both the question and the answer. So add some common questions, not just about your practice, but about, pet health in general, right? People are coming, they're looking for answers, they want to be educated. This is our first chance to show our authority, to show, our expertise in these areas. So make sure that you have some questions and answers up there. And then also make sure that you're responding to questions that are asked by others. Once you have that Q&A section going, you will see people will put up different questions and things like that. Now, things like, oh, what's your price for this and stuff, you can put a response of like, hey, listen, it varies, just call the office. But things that are like an actual question about, hey, my dog is seeing this or my cat is having this issue, a well-written response to that other people can read is really going to help once people reach our Google Business Profile and they're really starting to evaluate us. Because again, a lot of times people get to there first before they ever even see a website. The website's important, but we have to make sure that everything on the Google Business Profile is in line. The other thing is make sure you're selecting all the right categories. You don't just want the broad general terms like veterinarian clinic, but make sure that you utilize specific services that your categories that Google makes available. So when you go into your Google Business Profile and you put in that you're a veterinary practice, and you set everything up, they're going to make different services, emergency vet services, different things like that available to you. Make sure that you look at your practice and all those services that you do offer are matched up well with that. Okay, so the next thing, and this is somewhat newer. It's been around for a while, but people are really, really taking advantage of this more. And I call it because, we live in a Twitter society, right? Everything that we do is quick. We want fast messages. We want fast answers. And we want fast responses. That's why nobody has phone calls anymore. Everybody just texts everybody, right? So we need to make sure that our practice is in line with that and has those same capabilities that we do as humans on our cell phones. So enabling the messaging feature on your profile will allow you to do this. So, obviously you have to have someone stationed in the office that is available that can be checking on that. And again, it doesn't have to be like a rapid response within 2 seconds. But make sure that somebody is checking that throughout the day. It will alert you. It will send emails. So there's a system that you can set up to make sure that you're doing this properly. But anytime that we can engage a potential prospect that's just looking on Google for a new clinic, a new doctor, a new provider, the quicker we can engage with that person, the higher probability we have of converting them. So adding in the messaging feature is great. Sometimes you'll just get a quick message like, hey, this just happened. What should I do? Should I bring them right in? Yes, you can bring them right in. We have availability. Please bring them in. Things like that. You can convert people very, very quickly off of the messaging feature. So I highly recommend taking a look at that. Again, make sure you're staffed up for it. We don't want a whole bunch of messages coming in that never get responded to and stuff, because that would probably have the negative impact on what we're trying to look for. But stay consistent with this, stay consistent with the messaging, have a system in place, and you will definitely see higher conversions because you have the ability to engage the prospect well before they ever actually call the clinic, walk into the clinic, or even visit the clinic's website. So this is a huge piece and something we definitely want to look at. All right, so after this, we want to make sure that we post regularly and use high quality images. So obviously stock images are fine. Make sure that you have the royalties for them and we're not just grabbing things off the internet and stuff, because there is law firms out there that sit there and they basically troll some of these type things, and they'll look for people using images where they haven't paid the royalty for it. So make sure that if you're using stock photographs, you're buying them from iStock Photo or something like that, where you're not going to run into any of those issues. But better than that is to actually take your own photos. Whether you have a photographer come in and take high quality photos, or quite frankly, the camera on an iPhone 14 is just as high quality as anything else that you're going to get out there these days. So just taking these high quality photos and posting those both in the photo section and then into the Google Business Profile post. So there's a section where you can actually make posts with Google Business Profile. And we want to make sure that we're adding in content. Now, when we're doing that, again, this is going to be a little short excerpt that is going to, hold on one second, just a couple more people coming in. So this is just going to be a little short excerpt that is going to talk about something. And most of the time, the intention here is going to be to drive traffic back to the website. So you might have something about, hey, we're doing this. This is a new thing in dental health. This is what we're focused on right now. To learn more about this, click here. When they click there, that's going to drive them back to a blog page on the website where they can learn more about it. And then obviously that's going to be set up for conversion and everything like that. But the other reason is we really, really want to, in digital marketing, it's the first impression with our customers. So we want to make sure we're building that like, know, and trust as best that we can. So someone coming in and, hold on one second, someone coming in and making sure that, they're seeing the actual practice. They're seeing pictures of the inside, of the outside. They're seeing pictures of staff members. They're seeing pictures of the doctors, right? All that stuff right into the Google. And again, most of the time we're like, oh, well, we don't really need that there because we have that on our website. But remember, this is kind of like the front door into the website. So we're going to want to make sure that we're posting those images on there. The other thing that we're doing when we're doing this is, again, we're showing Google that consistency. So we're showing them that we're consistently trying to put information out there for our potential customers and for our prospects. And this will definitely help improve the rankings. Okay, so when this is tied with a local SEO strategy, and we're going to get into that a little bit later, but when that's tied together with a very specific strategy with location specific tagging and things like that, it's really going to help improve those rankings when people are searching for you. So, sometimes people, I worked with a practice last year that was a brand new practice in January. Little people know this, but there's actually 80 Google Map positions when you do a search. So there's 80 Google Map positions. And when this doctor launched his practice, he was in position 66, right? So it was like, hey, it's going to take forever to try to get into the Google Maps and everything. But by really focusing on this recipe and this consistency and using a lot of local SEO strategies, within a couple months, he was actually had an average ranking position of 2.1, which means that he was showing up in the map pack almost automatically. There was other people that were actually calling him locally that have had a practice for 15 years. And they're like, why is yours showing up in the map higher than mine? Right. And it was through these techniques and it was through consistency and doing all this. So they do a great job of making those posts consistently. They're going to post at least a few times per week on those, and lots of photos, lots of images, and lots of ties back to the website. So make sure you're taking advantage of that feature. Some people don't even know that you have that, but that's your Google Business Post, and that's your photo section that you're gonna manage through your Google Business Profile. All right, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is consistency and nap. And I hope no one's taking a nap already. I hope I'm not being that boring. Like I said, I'm going to keep these to like 20 to 30 minutes tops. I know we're all in the evening, and we will send out the replay. So anybody that joined late, please know that you will get a copy of the replay by tomorrow, and feel free to watch that at any time. And if you have any questions, obviously, we're always available for you to reach out. But the NAP, consistency and NAP. So NAP stands for name, addresses, and phone number. Okay. And obviously on our Google Business Profile, we're going to go in and we're going to go ahead and set that. And then we're going to go ahead and set that on our website. But out on the internet, there is tons of different directories and things that will pull information from either an old website or, just randomly abbreviate, street for ST and just do certain things. Okay. Well, when we have inconsistency in the name and address and phone number out there on the internet, that's going to negatively affect our rankings. That's going to negatively affect our Google position and our position in the map. So there's different types of software out there that you can use. Obviously, any type of company that specializes with SEO and things like that can obviously help you with all this, but making sure that consistency is set up. And people are like, yeah, no, the same phone number's there and the same this and the same that, but something as simple as the example I have, 555 South Street, versus, South ST period will make a difference and will make an impact. That's going to show Google a mismatch in the NAP, and that will have an effect on your rankings. So this is one of those things too, where I always look at this very early on with people, because sometimes people are like, hey, listen, I've been posting, I've been doing this, we're getting some great reviews, but I'm just not seeing any progress in that. And these are some of the foundational things, just like some of the foundational things on your website with some of your metadata tags and things like that, that if we don't have that stuff right, it's going to be very difficult to really, compete with the people that have that set and are doing these monthly tasks to stay competitive in that. So take a look at that. Take a look at, you can have someone from your office or whatever, take a look at some of the major directories that you have, look at some of the local ones, look at things like Yellow Pages, different things like that, right? So any type of listing directory, we want to make sure that this is set up. The other thing that happens is a lot of us use phone systems. So maybe we had an old phone number that no longer is, maybe still routes to the main number. So the phone number still works, but it's different than the number that we listed on the Google Business Profile. That's going to have a big negative effect as well. So even if you're like, hey, that number still works, make sure that we have that consistent with the one that's on Google Business Profile. So use Google Business Profile as your core, and then everything else should match what's on the Google Business Profile, not the other way around. All right. Now we are going to get into the last piece that I really wanted to talk about tonight, which is to optimize your site and your Google Business Profile for local SEO. So there is a lot of different SEO tactics that are out there, different things that we can do, but local service area pages are something that I've seen have a great, huge effect in improving your rankings. So I want you to think about it for a second. When someone comes to Google, what Google is trying to solve for is the customer search. That's why ever since Google was created, they've never had anything other than the word Google and a single search bar. So whatever that person types in, what Google is trying to solve for is to give the information that would be relevant to that search as quickly and as rapidly as possible. So, over, nanoseconds and things, and there's millions of directories and things that are happening when someone types that search and they hit enter, and in seconds, it produces all these results and has that. Well, those algorithms are designed to make sure that things are matched up, okay? So if you're thinking about, an example is a local area, a local service area page, okay? So I want you to think about, the town that you're in. I'll use Boise, Idaho, because I used that as an example earlier. Okay, so we're in Boise, Idaho. You can create specific service pages that talk about your veterinary practice in Boise, Idaho. And we're going to make sure that those are tagged in the actual H1 and H2 tags in the headlines and everything. So the structure of the page, we're going to make sure that that's actually matching the schema of the page, which is kind of a little bit underneath the hood in terms of the actual website page itself. But the schema of the page has to match all that. And then we're going to make sure that the content written on the page is also matching for that. So I want you to think how this works for a second. If I'm somebody in Boise, Idaho, and I'm jumping on and I'm saying, hey, I'm looking for a veterinarian near me in Boise, Idaho. If Google can scan and they can look at a actual URL page title that says, xyzpractice.com/ veterinarian in Boise, Idaho, .. right in the URL title. Then it jumps to the schema, which is what it's going to look at second, and it has all the same matching information. Then it's going to jump to your title tags, which have the same matching information, and then it's going to read the content, which has the same matching information. You are going to be able to rank and rank quickly for those type of pages, okay? So again, we want to make sure that those are well written. We're providing good information, not just short little, 300-word pages. Google definitely likes content. Google wants us to produce content and produce well-written content. But using this as a strategy combined with the Google My Business Profile. So what I would do in something like this, if I'm creating some of these different pages, now think about it, you can also do those for those specific service areas as well. So dental health practice in, dental health for dogs in Boise, Idaho, right? So tons of different variations that you can focus on and put in. But as you're doing those, you're going to want to tie those to your Google Business Profile post as well. So you're going to have that. That's what's going to link back to that page. So these are all just interlinking signals that are telling Google, hey, someone searched for this and we are this. Like, we are specifically what they're looking for. So that is a great way that you can improve your overall rankings for your website. But again, most importantly, like when I talk about SEO now, I don't even talk about the second and third page of Google and where your blog is posting and showing up and stuff, because while people will find those things and they'll read the content and they're interested in that, that is the lowest way that we're driving anybody through to our practice, like actually gaining new customers from the internet, right? So I always shift that focus on to the Google Business Profile. Again, 60% of new calls, new form submissions, and things like that, you can trace that back to originating from the Google Business Profile, from them clicking on that map, from you popping up, them seeing your reviews, they see your stars, they see the name of the practice, and they're going to go there. The reason that I made this the first part in this webinar series is this is, the gift that will keep on giving. Okay, so obviously, I'm sure a lot of people have spent a lot of different money on AdWords. AdWords is still a very, very strong strategy. It's still a great way to drive new leads into your practice. And actually, I'm going to have, one of the webinars in this series is specifically optimizing your AdWords account for veterinary practices. So we're going to dive into that in a couple of weeks. But the thing that you have to think about with AdWords is every time someone clicks, you're spending that money, and whether they convert or don't convert or whatever, that money's gone, right? So what I always tell people is compare this to either owning a home on the internet or leasing or renting a home on the internet. Anything that you do to invest into your website, into your local SEO, into your Google Business Profile, that is going to stay consistent and keep driving leads, and keep driving leads at a minimal cost, because you're not paying per click, you're not paying per lead, you're not paying for that consistently. So my recommendation is always you want to balance with that, right? So you want to put your focus on this. You want to make sure that your rankings are good, you're showing up in that map pack, but then you can also utilize keywords and the Google AdWords for very specific services and specific accounts. Again, another doctor that I work with really specializes in knee surgeries for dogs. And they have that. So we have a very localized campaign for all vet services and all practices. But for knee services, for knee surgery, we have a much wider campaign that canvasses more of the state, because quite frankly, if someone's really looking for a top specialist in that, they're willing to drive an hour or 2 hours to go see him for that service. So we're going to range that out, and we're going to use AdWords, because local SEO, we're not reaching 50 miles away when someone's looking for us, because that means the Google algorithm's broke. So the way that we can do that and drive people that are typically outside of a little bit of a radius for a specialized service is going to be through AdWords. So I definitely don't knock AdWords, but I always say that this is first and foremost, because we're building a practice. We want to be around for the next 15, 20 years. We want to build value into our practice. All of these things are going to keep you consistent. They're going to keep you ranking. They're going to keep you driving those new patients in. So that's why I always focus on this first. So with that being said, I'm actually at the last slide right now. So as I mentioned, we're going to keep this right into about the 30-minute mark. I did have a question that says, my QR code does not work. Do I know why it expired? It depends on what QR code generator that you used. Unfortunately, there are some that, it's like a free pop-up site. What I will do is, in the follow-up sequence in the email, I'll put some recommendations out there for ones that you should use. So if you have one and you're dealing with something where it's expired at this point, I would say that, unless you can contact the company and get a response from them and try to troubleshoot why it's not working. Unfortunately, a lot of these are just like online generators, so you're never really going to get to talk to somebody. So you will have to recreate that with a new QR code. But again, when we're using that QR code, remember, we're using the very specific link that we pull from the Google Business Profile for the reviews, and that's what we're going to send. We don't want to send them to a general, search page. We don't want to send them to our website for that. We want them going directly to that. So yeah, so I would look into that. If you have a contact at the company, I would just reach out and see if there was something, that happened of why it's expired. Maybe they can update it on the back end. But if not, you unfortunately might have to go ahead and recreate that and regenerate that. But again, I will share some suggestions with everybody in the follow-up sequence about different tools and stuff that I would recommend that you can use that I've seen practices use for years and have never had any issues with. Any other questions? We have a little bit of time here. So is there any other just general questions? Anything generally related to Google Business Profile, local SEO? The next one in the series that we're going to really dive into is those location specific pages and blogging, right? The proper way to write blogs. We don't just want to write. One of the things that I tell people all the time is that having you, whether you're using a company that's generating content for you and posting that up, that's great for consistency, right? Because we get super busy and it's hard to always do that. But the best blend that I've seen is to have a system for that, have a company, have somebody that actually does that part, but then at least once a month, write a blog yourself. Okay. And the reason that I'm saying that is that Google is now using AI when it comes to content. Okay, so they're looking at the content. The algorithms can actually almost detect at this point stuff that is just generic or things that are completely written by AI. AI is amazing. It's an amazing tool. I use it all the time. I use ChatGPT all the time. But the one thing that AI can't do is offer strong opinions and have opinion-based writing, right? It just isn't there yet. Will it get there? I predict yes, okay? It will get there, but where it is right now in the machine learning stage, it's simply not there yet. So when you produce content and the detection is able to detect that these are opinion-based things, and this is actually coming from a doctor, from a practice owner with opinion-based things in it, that content is going to score higher, much higher than any type of generic written content. So a blend of strategy of having consistency, local pages, things like that, written with a company or with staff internally or something. I highly recommend you don't put it on your plate, because if you put it on your plate, the consistency will be the challenge. But committing to one article a month is a great way that you can kind of have that balance of consistency, but then also very opinion-based writing that Google's really going to reward you for. Also, is there any way to have staff access only to messages from Maps without the whole? Yes, so there's different settings that you can set up and permissions that you can set up within the Google Business Profile that would limit what staff members and other people can do and see within there. So yeah, so absolutely. So what you would do is you would add them in as a member in the Google Business Profile page, and you're just going to limit their permissions of what they can see and what they can do within there. So you'll be able to give them access to, the messaging. You can give them access to respond to reviews. You can give them access to do some of those basic things, but your actual Google account and access to your mail and things like that behind that, no, they can be completely blocked out from that. All right. Is there any other questions? All right. So as I mentioned, I hope there was some valuable information in here for you. We're going to send the replay out to you. I really appreciate you taking a little time out of your day. I know it's probably been a long day for many, but I'm going to do these in the evenings after being at the VMG Congress not too long ago and speaking with a lot of people. It was recommended that this is the best time for everybody, right? Because the days are, yeah, we can try to plan them. I used to try to do them on lunch breaks and everything, but we know that we don't have consistent lunch breaks and the days can get crazy and stuff. So I'm going to commit to doing these. We'll do these at least once a month, and these are going to be at 7:30 p.m. So we'll get the replay out to everybody. We'll get some of those recommendations out to everybody. And again, my name's Sean Denon from the Vet Marketing Firm. I live and breathe marketing. This is all I do. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, book some time on my calendar. I'm basically on Zooms all day, so would love to talk to you about it. So if you have any specific questions or, hey, can we just, screen share and look at this on my page or something like that, I'm happy to do that for you. So I hope everyone has an amazing evening. Thank you again for joining me tonight. And we'll keep you posted about the next webinar in the series, which is going to be specifically about local SEO. And the one after that, we're going to talk specifically about AdWords and how you can stop spending as much money as you may be with Google. Because Google has enough money, right? We don't need all of our money going to Google for clicks. So make it a great evening. Thanks again so much, and we'll be in touch soon. Take care.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you.